Hello, gentlemen. How are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Man, so excited. My face hurt from laughing so much last night. I was
Oh,
like
that's great.
truly
That's awesome.
one of the funniest movies I've seen in quite a long time. So, Dan, I want to ask you first, what is the key to good joke success rate? There was like 100 jokes a minute in this, and almost every one of them lands. That's so rare in a comedy.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much for
How do you do it?
how do you do it? I don't know. How does she do it? I the joke to a successful joke is writing 10 more jokes than end up on screen. Every joke that's in that movie, we had easily written a dozen alts for. We probably filmed 5 alts for most of them too. The important thing, honestly, is to give yourself options. And there's some things that we thought were hilarious that, like, maybe ended up in the performance just not really being able to pull off. I don't mean them as the actors; they really
Or
were.
they just weren't as funny as we thought.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's some things that you're like they just feel too written sometimes when you actually like
Yeah.
get them in someone's mouth. And so the secret is just doing the very laborious task of overwriting.
No, that I mean, trust me, as a writer myself, sometimes I feel like I'm writing too much, but it's good to have that wiggle room. So, Doug, I
Writing
want to
is
ask.
editing.
It is. So, Doug, I want to ask you, where's this love of detective and crime stuff? I know Chippendale was one of my favorite movies of that
Oh,
year. So now
thank
with
you
this
so
as
much.
well, like you guys are really good at parroting this and grabbing this. Is there a love of this?
Oh
There,
my
there
god,
is.
yeah.
There's a huge love of. I mean, we love noir. It's like old classic noir, detective movies, Bogey, all that stuff. Is incredibly formative to me, and it's the thing that I'm still probably watching the most of when I'm just at home. Is just like I'm looking for old noirs.
We wrote a movie called Most Likely to Murder that Doug stars in, that I directed. That was a Rear Window. It wasn't a Rear Window spoof. It was sort of a Rear Window comedy, and we really jumped hard into Hitchcock as a template for and
yeah,
mystery as a template for writing
I
comedy.
think that what we realized, like 10 years ago, was that like it's different from now, like Naked Gun, but like straight ahead comedies were harder sells. So we realized that we have to start pitching comedies as like it's a comedic this genre. It's it's an action comedy. It's a comedic noir, and we felt once we got into the noir detective area that it was a lot of fun, and it also gave us room to move. We had found in writing comedies that sometimes the third acts become difficult and also just kind of predictable. But then when you throw noir in there, you can have twists and turns that don't feel um, laborious or kind of out of left field in a regular comedy. But if it's in the noir genre, it makes sense. So we really started to gravitate towards noir, and like Chippendale was like we were like, what's the comedic version of L.A. Confidential, and the continuation of success, hopefully a success for to Roger Rabbit.
Oh, I mean, you nailed that. If you were trying to make a
Thank you.
modern Roger Rabbit, I think you guys nailed it
Thank
with
you
this.
very.
But
That's
now
that was
going Now going to Naked Gun, Dan, I have to ask, was there a moment early on? I think we're all scared of the word reboot or reimagining. Was there a moment
Yeah.
early on where you were like, this joke or this scene could work? This is what's going to get us that reboot and make it as successful as I think it is.
I mean, the biggest, by far biggest thing going into this was that, when Doug and I came on with Akiva to this property, Liam Neeson was already attached, and for us, the whole conversation starts and stops at Liam Neeson. The entire premise of this is that, as perfect, truly, as that original movie is, the whole franchise is Police Squad. It, that the one thing that they don't have is a spoof of the last 30 years of action movies. The franchise ended, and Leslie Nielsen is a singular voice of that generation. But nevertheless, there's this whole the metaphor that a friend of mine used is that it's a fresh Mario board where none of the coins have been touched yet, and like that felt very apropos. Where it was like Zaz created a sort of sandbox, and we're getting to to play in a part of it. And so Liam Neeson creates both for the last 30 years of action movies, more new material to spoof, and he himself is his own subgenre of old man who fights for justice and will never be stopped. He's punching terrorists and wolves and ice road trucks, and so he's really his own thing. And so once we knew we were writing for him, it felt very clear to us that that's what makes this worth doing. That hopefully will not feel like a retread or a shitty, cheesy reboot of the old movies. That it's its own thing. It has its own legs to stand on.
It really does exist in its own. And I mean, that snowman gag is my favorite thing I've seen this year. As a horror fan as well, I was like, can y'all get into the horror genre? Like, where's y'all secret, horror parody as well?
So have you seen that snowman horror movie?
I have seen Jack Frost. I saw you go from normal Jack Frost to scary Jack Frost. I see what you guys are doing there.
You're aware of both of them.
No, I love that so much. So now, Doug, I want to ask, if one of you guys is the wordplay person, is there someone who is the structure or the chaos or the slapstick? Where do you fall in this writing duo? Because I'm always amazed with two heads of a great beast.
I'm phoning it in, really. I'm here for press. I'm here for the pictures. No, I mean, look, it's a good question, but I think that Dan and I have been writing together close to 20 years at this point. We share the responsibilities, and it kind of just goes with best idea wins, and also it's just a lot of group mind. And we wrote this with Akiva. We basically opened up a writer's room for this, which is not like a lot of movies. So it's just three of us in a room. We broke out the structure of this movie together. The first 2 weeks was just about making sure the plot makes sense. One of the tricks of a great spoof movie is that the plot should feel simple and you don't think about it, and that means you did your job right. But it never feels, everything makes sense and it's moving forward, and you care just enough about the characters. You're rooting for the love interest. You're rooting for that kiss at the end. So we spent time together, the three of us, breaking the movie together, and then building on top of it, and we would each go off and write scenes, send them to each other, punch them, rewrite them, do a different version, different iteration. And so I would say that there's, everyone kind of does everything, and then it just becomes this hodgepodge of voices that hopefully comes out as a unified voice that's just funny or makes you feel something, and that's how we do it.
I'll give you a good example of where our tastes diverge. The shit attack sequence. The first half is all about pooping your pants and the fears of that. And Doug wrote almost all of that. And then the second half is all body shame, about feeling like a fucking asshole in your body. And I wrote most of that.
No, and again, it feels like one brain working together, which I think works. It also feels like a real movie. Like, you take away the jokes and I would still watch this movie. That's what I think you guys did really, really well.
That's something we were very, very we set out to as that being a central demand of this movie, that the original movies, the thing that again, I mean, what Doug was saying about like why we started writing more like mystery comedies was because the problem with a lot of comedies is that they don't take their plot seriously enough. And as funny as a movie is, if you're not invested in the story and the relationships, the jokes, it's very hard to keep the jokes going up and up and up and up. You need to keep people on the track of the story first and foremost. And so it was something we set out to be very, very sincere about. We really worked only like completely without jokes for a while, and just feeling like this plot makes sense, works. It is of the genre, and that it's not a joke. It's not a joke story. It's a real story.
I love to hear that. Coming from the horror world, it seems like you guys really make horror movies where I have to care about the people who are dying. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't believe in these people and root for them, then I don't care that they're dying. Like this, I don't care if it's funny if I don't care about the people. So you guys nailed that perfectly. I want to say thank you guys for speaking with me today. I love picking y'all's brains. It was great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a good
Okay.
day.
Love the Chucky behind you.
Thank you. Thank you.